Thank you for joining us this morning for SBB Live. I am your host and the publisher of Seniors Blue Book, Amanda Barton. I'm delighted today to bring on one of my valued partners, Robb Winiecki, over at Assisting Hands of Collier County. How are you, Robb?
I'm good. I'm good. Thank you.
We are excited to bring you on the show today, talk about a little history about you and Assisting Hands. So tell me about you and how you got into this industry.
Well, I don't know if I'm unique to the industry, but I came from the retail background. Um, I was a district manager of 12 locations on the west coast of Florida, but it was my wife that has the health history. She's a registered respiratory therapist and had worked in the hospitals clinically for about 17 years. And how this all happened was I was out looking for a business around my skill set, a little family business, a little small business, and I noticed my wife kept coming home with the same story from the hospital. As upon discharge, families were approaching her to help at home because she was in respiratory. She was dealing with a lot of people with uh, emphysema, congestive heart failure, COPD. So people who are on oxygen who get taxed very quickly when they do activity of daily living. So they were tagging her in the hospital upon discharge saying, hey, can you come help me with my spouse? Or can you go home and maybe help put some eyeballs on my parents, a couple of times a week and report back to us? And she always said no because she worked full time and she was a full time mother. But with that story come home, I said, there's companies out there that do that. Maybe you should quit your job and do that, and I'll just stay where I'm at. And so what we decided was we're going to together. Initially, when we first started, I did back office, billing, payroll, outside marketing, and sales. She did what we kind of call the softer side of the business, hiring the caregivers, meeting with the families, things of that nature. So here we are 12 years later and still going strong.
No, and it's great to have that family environment. Do you want to kind of go into what makes Assisting Hands unique, some of the things that you do for your clients that you feel makes you really shine?
Yeah, I mean, I think what makes us unique, at least to us, I don't really know what a lot of other people, quote unquote, are doing out there per se, but uh, Tricia and I have always made the commitment whenever we take on a family or take on a client, we take them on personally. We always reassure these clients and their families that we are actively involved. My wife and I are hands-on owners. We're here in the office pretty much 5 days a week. We're always, quote unquote, on call, so we're always available, and we do take a very, very personal interest on our clients and how our caregivers are doing with them in the homes.
Yeah.
So a lot of communication with our caregivers and with the families that we take care of.
Now, for those of us that really don't know that much about, home care, you go in when you're first meeting someone and you do what's called a care plan. Do you want to tell our viewers like what that care plan looks like and how you determine who the best person for them at that time would be to set them up with?
Yeah. Well, we go into a home, the initial consultation, which is always at no cost, which is free to the family. We go in and we just kind of like sit with them. And what we do is we do an intake screening with them. And whether it's myself, my wife, or one of our nurses that go out and do it, it's this complete kind of like history of like where we're at now and exactly what we want the caregivers to do. So when we come back and make that care plan, it's a very detailed thing. So when our caregivers go into the home, they always kind of know exactly what they're supposed to do. And we always do an introduction with the family, with our caregivers. And so it also gives them a chance, the nurses, to again sit down and kind of review what's going to happen in the home, kind of show and demonstrate where these things are going to happen, and get any further information from the families. And then again, the big piece about the communication is these care plans, like the person you're caring for, are living things that they change over time. So again, we have our nurses go out at least once a quarter with the families to update these care plans or more if needed.
That's good. That's definitely good. And let's say someone gets into a situation where they're not really clicking with their caregiver. Are they able to switch around?
Yes, of course. I mean, we always want a good match to happen. And to your point, like you said before, it's like we come back from that initial, um, interview or screening, and we come back, and my office manager, she calls it making a love connection per se, trying to match the right caregiver up with the family based upon. And that initial screening, in addition to what we're talking with the families, we're kind of learning, trying to learn the personalities, and what the kind of motive is for the family, what they're looking for, and how they interact with people in the house themselves. And so, yeah, if they're not happy with the caregiver, they can always make a change.
And just not to put you on the spot, but I know that Assisting Hands is very involved with the philanthropic world and Collier County. Do you want to talk about some of the different organizations that you partner with and support?
Well, yeah, I mean, I'm a past board member of PASS via the Parkinson's Association of Southwest Florida, and we still are involved with them as far as I sit on their advisory committee. But as far as their walk is concerned and the different things that they do, we've always been a big supporter of the Alzheimer's Support Network. Um, I mean, what they do for the county is tremendous, and the resource that they are for people and for families is incredible. It's through them that we are kind of like talking about earlier. It's just that we kind of do what they call it is a 222 plan. It's when they have families, when you have a healthy caregiver taking care of a demented spouse, that and that's the only thing down here is what they want their members to kind of have is a plan for 2 hours, 2 days, and 2 weeks is what they call it. And so a lot of times when they're dealing with these folks that have family out of town and the primary caregiver, the healthy spouse is here, they really force them to plan on what they're going to do in case of an emergency. So a lot of times they refer families to us and to other companies like us, and that so if something happened to them, they're signed up and they're registered and ready to go. And one of the things we do for them in that sense is we just kind of keep tabs on the person over time. So if this emergency does arise, i.e., a healthy spouse has a heart attack or stroke or some fall, and they get rushed off to the hospital, and a demented loved one is there left at home, who do they need to call? Well, the family up north knows our number, neighbors know our numbers, things of that nature. And then what we do is we get someone to the house with a demented spouse, whether it's one of my aides, whether it's this guy right here, my wife, or one of our nurses. Somebody gets down there as soon as possible to sit with this person until we can get an aide down there. So
Yeah, and I think another thing that really makes you unique is that you come in, you do this free assessment, and it could be before someone ever needs any care. So talk to us about just some of the things that you can do to be proactive. Um, exactly what you're talking about, especially if you have someone that doesn't need to be home alone if something, God forbid, were to happen to you. So when would be the best time to like call you and start doing that initial interview?
the sooner the better. You know what I mean? To your point, with that mindset, like when families call us, they have us do come out to the house and we do meet with them, but they're just kind of like putting their big toe in the water in a sense. They're not quite sure, especially if we identify as a situation where if something were to happen to the healthy spouse, again, that there would be someone would need to be helping with this other person. It doesn't necessarily have to be dementia; it could be anything, right? Someone with Parkinson's or whatever, some other disability that basically we kind of bring that idea up that at least sign up so we have you quarterly. We'll come out and kind of just do an update on you just to kind of or the person that we may be. So it just gives peace of mind to the healthy spouse, the family out of town. So it's more of just of a peace of mind kind of sign up per se. There's no like long-term commitment or the only time you really pay is when you pay when we have a caregiver out there.
No, I always say that it's best to be proactive versus reactive because then you're
Absolutely.
stuck in a situation where what if you're not available to get a caregiver there right away, but if you had all their information, it would be a lot easier so you didn't have to do that initial intake form. So,
To your
knowledge is power.
you sit there with them at the table and they're like, you say to them, well, what if something happened to you,
Mhm.
went into the hospital? And they just kind of sit there with this kind of like deer in the headlights kind of look, and they just don't really think about that. And then,
Absolutely. They really, really don't. And it doesn't really matter how much you preach to the choir. It seems like it has to happen to them or a friend of theirs for them to get real serious about it. So the more education that we can get out there about what services are available and the fact that you don't have to need them right away to go ahead and take advantage of that initial consultation is really important. So just want to thank you so much for your time this morning. I appreciate you coming on the show, and thank you for being a valued partner of Seniors Blue Book.
All right, thank you for the invite, and I do want to put one little plug out there for Alzheimer's Support
Please.
Network. I know they're not doing Elephant Fest this year, but
Right.
please don't forget to donate to them because they do rely on those funds for year round.
Yes, there's a lot of different fundraisers going on right now for them because November is typically Elephant Fest. So thank you for bringing that up. We'll definitely we'll have to do another video with them actually.
Definitely.
All right. Thanks so much, Rob.